Final preparations at production line 1. The workers pack the slew ring with grease. This is the junction between the undercarriage and superstructure, where the wheels meet the engine and cab. It's where the excavator rotates through the critical 360 degrees in just 5 seconds, with as little resistance as possible. The massive superstructure will soon be mounted on the slew ring. A special adhesive provides for initial grip, directly after the two sections make contact. But when exposed to the air, it only acts for a short time. Once applied, every second counts for the workers. The time has come. The so-called marriage can begin. A crane system carries the revolving superstructure, which now weighs 12 tons, 20 meters through the air. The difficulty? The superstructure swings back and forth by around 20 centimeters. Shift worker Song Jin-jung is responsible for this critical step. He and his two colleagues must maneuver the swinging cab onto the slew ring. With millimeter precision, and do so as quickly as possible, because the adhesive is steadily losing its effect.
We've been specially trained for this job. We've been given precise instructions on what needs to be done. We have to work quickly but carefully. It can only be done if you have good reactions. Your eyes, brain, and hands must act in concert. Experience is extremely important too.
The critical moment has arrived. The massive superstructure is still swinging alarmingly. And suddenly, everything goes very quickly. Done. The workers secure the connection, held thus far by the adhesive, with bolts. The next big moment of the final assembly is fast approaching. Just a few last operations to perform. Oil and fuel are added to the tanks. Then finally, the excavator can move under its own power for the first time. But the entire front section is still missing. A lifting system with massive arms and flexible hydraulic systems, and the excavating bucket. Lunchtime, including for shift worker Zong, who just maneuvered the superstructure onto the undercarriage. The company's management strictly controls work and rest periods by means of a facial recognition system.
A facial recognition system records when we arrive for work and when we leave.
The modern time clock can't be fooled. It stores his photo along with the exact time. They head to the canteen in an orderly fashion. It's not a requirement, but certainly desired. Everyone here feels more comfortable with a certain orderliness. 1,600 people work here in one of the largest and most modern excavator factories in the world. Lunch is served in several shifts. The workers can choose between 3 different meals. The price? €1. Rice and soup are free. On average, a worker in Lingang earns €1,500 a month. The back section of Building 2. This is where the critical phase of the excavator arm installation begins. Around 100 excavator arms are stored here. 1,000 tons of steel, enough for just 2 days. The freshly painted arms mustn't come into contact with rain on the way to final assembly. In this case, they aren't protected by a tunnel, but a bridge. That connects Building 2 with Building 3 at a height of 8 meters. The workers now start assembling the complex articulated arm. Especially important, these thin hoses with a diameter of just 2 centimeters. Hydraulic oil will later flow through them under extreme pressure. The hoses must be able to withstand it, but still be elastic and flexible. Chief Engineer Xu Bin checks to ensure they're installed properly. He knows how important these hoses are.
Extreme pressure additives flow through here. In order to withstand the immense pressure, the hoses are reinforced with 4 to 5 overlapping layers of wire inside. These are surrounded by 2 plastic layers on the outside. This allows the hoses to stretch to accommodate movements while simultaneously being able to withstand the extreme oil pressure.
Correct installation of the hydraulic system, absolutely critical. When in operation, the bucket can be up to 10 meters from the excavator's center of gravity. But even there, it must still be able to lift and slew 1.5 tons. At the heart of the hydraulic system is the pump, with a capacity of 200 liters of oil per minute. It generates a working pressure within the hoses of over 300 bar. It supplies all of the hydraulic components. Boom cylinder, arm cylinder, bucket cylinder. This is necessary for the bucket to achieve its maximum digging force of 138 kilonewtons. The final push on the assembly line. Workers fit the prepared arms to the excavators. After not even 23 working hours, this new SY215 is nearing completion. Sany has almost doubled its annual profit in the excavator segment. The construction machinery giant sells most of its vehicles in China, but they're now increasingly looking to grow their overseas business. The strategy? A little less expensive than their Europeans and American counterparts in order to attract new customers, and a little more expensive than the Koreans, who they want to squeeze out of the market with higher quality and better reliability. The finishing touches. The only thing left now is to attach the bucket to the excavator. It's finished. A new SY215 is on the move. It's worth 110,000 euros. Like all vehicles, the next stop is quality control. Even at its maximum reach of 9.57 meters, the hydraulic system must still operate at full power. The test center is located just a few meters further along, at the end of Building 3. 20 meters high, roughly 1,000 square meters in size. Extreme stress tests, strict inspectors. The newly assembled excavators now have to demonstrate what they're capable of. The requirement when in use, over 1,000 different movement sequences. The most important 200 will now be tested. Test driver Liu Renwei fills the hydraulic system with oil. The stress test begins while it's still running into the excavator. First, test driver Liu runs through the most important basic functions, killing two birds with one stone in the process. The oil gets distributed evenly, and he gets his first impressions at the same time.
We've only just filled the new machine with hydraulic oil. The most important thing right now, I want to filter the hydraulic fluid in every system and oil tank in order to ensure the purity of the oil.
The next station. Here, the tracking is put to the test. Are the track systems perfectly installed? And can the 23-ton monster drive in a straight line? Liu checks the deviation, driving forwards and backwards.
Down there is the reference line. We check whether the deviation is within our tolerance range when the excavator is driven over a distance of 20 meters. Our standard is very strict.
The permitted deviation, 20 centimeters. Here, it's just 8.
Everything's great.
The hydraulic systems test. The bucket is raised to a height of almost 10 meters and back down again, 5 times in 1 minute. The flexible hoses withstand the oil pressure. Now, it's the turn of the slew ring. 5 rotations in just 25 seconds, in both directions. Have the technicians perfectly married the superstructure and undercarriage? The excavator passes the test. The functional test of a new model takes 30 minutes. To be able to adequately test the procession of new excavators requires 4 test operators to be on duty at the same time. Test driver Liu lives his childhood dream every day, driving an excavator under extreme conditions and getting paid to do it as well.
It really is a fascinating job I have. I'm involved with excavators in my spare time too. I'm into extreme challenges in the cab. I've even won a prize on a TV show as an excavator operator.
All tests passed. One of 6 new excavators per hour is ready for sale. Chief Engineer Xu Bin follows the final test too, and does so with a certain pride. In just 24 work hours, a few pieces of steel plating have been transformed into a new high-tech excavator.
I've worked in the excavator industry for many years, and I'm very proud of the developments of recent years. It's impressive to see the output and quality of excavators in China continually improving.
Another SY-215 has been born into the market. Manufactured in one of the largest excavator factories in the world. The capacity of the cutting-edge plant is enormous. By operating a 3-shift system, the Chinese could flood the market with up to 40,000 excavators every year.